and welcome to the Jess and the Guest podcast. My name is Jess Hopkins, and I'm so excited you're listening to this. Like all low points in life, I started a podcast. But like a high points, I interview some of the best people I know, from former CIA agents to rappers, musicians, actors, actresses, comedians, and hell, even Tiger Kings. One of my first guests today is David Henrie. He's incredible. We talk about his upcoming movie, Reagan, with Dennis Quaid, no big deal. The Wizards of Waverly Place, Shakira, Sylvester Stallone, meeting the Pope. Again, no big deal. Look, David and I are equally successful, okay? While he is doing all of that, I am quarantining in my sister's childhood bedroom because mine immediately became storage. That's what happens when you're the least favorite child. All right, stay tuned. I know it's really early, but how is Reagan going? Like, how it looks so amazing, like just from what I've seen online about it. Like, how is
it's going super well. They've shot most of Dennis Quaid's stuff right now. I shoot in we're in February now. I shoot in April, so I have to play Reagan from like 17 to like mid 20s or something.
Oh my gosh.
So I have to. The really funny, awkward part is he was a lifeguard, and that's not funny. But what is funny is what I'm gonna have to wear. Because back then they wore like these wrestling singlets, and they're really tight and really small and very revealing. So I'm gonna have to diet and lose a lot of weight, look like a 17-year-old. So I'm gonna do like a 6-week cleansing, just weight loss, crazy thing to try to look like a teenager.
Oh my God.
So that'll be hilarious. But the film's going really well. I've seen some footage. Dennis is doing an incredible job, and the producers are doing a really, really good job keeping it authentic looking and professional, and production value is great. So I think everyone will be very impressed with the film, and especially with Dennis. He's doing an incredible job playing it.
Is it hard playing a real life character plus also playing Dennis's version of the character? Like, I'm a stand-up, so I don't know anything about acting, but I'm like, to me, it would seem hard to do. But
that's a great question. I think to add a third layer of difficulty, you also kind of want to make it your own.
Yeah.
You need to feel confident in the role, so you got to make it your own. You got to try to do Dennis's version of Reagan, then try to do the real Reagan. Good news is Dennis is pretty much nailing Reagan perfectly.
Yeah.
So it's not. He did make it his own, but he didn't make it his own to the degree that it's super different than Ronald Reagan himself.
Yeah.
So the advantage that I have, I think, in my favor is that young Reagan and old Reagan, if you watch like early videos of Ronald Reagan and then you watch videos of Reagan when he was president, they seem like very different guys because there's a 50, 60-year age gap in between those two periods of time. So when he's older, he has a much, his voice is raspier, the way he talks is slower and it's more hoarse. The way he spoke was different, and that's what Dennis Quaid's doing. When he was younger, the way he spoke and his confidence and how it's much snappier, whippier, very articulate. He was in his Hollywood days. He was touring, or he was going around the United States giving speeches for companies. So he was incredibly articulate, incredibly witty, very fast. And when he got older, he just got a little slower and a little raspier, a little more hoarse. So there most certainly is an advantage I have in making it my own, because he was very different when he was younger than in his older days. Yes. So I look forward to playing that character when he was a lifeguard, when he was doing radio, sportscaster, and in his early Hollywood days. So it'll be quite exciting, and the wonderful Bailey Madison is going to be playing a potential love interest when I was younger.
All right.
So it'll be fun to work with her again.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time, and I'm excited to make it my own. But I think it'll transition nicely to Dennis.
Yeah.
When he gets older.
Yeah. Well, do you remember your first time meeting Dennis and like what that was like?
Yeah. We were at a dinner, and it was a charity function of sorts, and it was for Ronald Reagan. It was a Ronald Reagan charity function, and this was probably a year or two ago. And the producer walked me right up to him and goes, "Dennis, this is who's playing you, young you in Reagan. And his name's David Henrie. I want to introduce you to." And he looked me up and down. He was like, "All right, yeah, I see it. I see it." And he gave me the stare and really looked me up and down.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Dennis Quaid just approved." I think Dennis Quaid is, probably growing up one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, me too.
In some of my favorite films. And he was also my wife's childhood crush.
Ooh, all right.
So I was like, that's got to earn me something, right?
Yeah,
If my if I turn into your childhood crush in the movie, Maria, you're gonna give me some bragging points there. This, I think there's I should get something out of this. I mean, I'm playing your childhood crush as a younger person. So
yeah.
That's pretty funny. When my wife and I first met, we did the thing when we were dating where it was like, who do who's your celebrity crush, and what to just kind of see what kind of prototype they have or what kind of type they have or whatever.
Yeah.
And she said Dennis Quaid and Legolas from Lord of the Rings. And I was like, wow, two very different. She's like, not even Orlando Bloom, Legolas.
Yeah.
Legolas from Lord of the Rings. Two
Great
very
answer.
different ends of the spectrum. But yeah, I get it.
So I know you started in commercials when you were little. I'm hoping you did any really funny commercials, but I'm sure they were very, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I did some hilarious ones. You're gonna some of them are on YouTube. You should YouTube and cut it into here because it's funny.
I will.
David Henrie toaster strudel.
Ooh, okay. All right, I'll look it up.
Toaster strudel. It was quite hilarious, and it was me brushing my teeth using a hairbrush toothbrush gadget that I pulled the trigger of this thing and it brushed my teeth and my hair at the same time. And yeah, that was quite embarrassing. But I did so many commercials as a kid. McDonald's, Burger King, Quaker Oats. I did a handful of them, and that kind of got me my start.
Yeah. Well, what I couldn't get over too is you started writing at such a young age, which I can't convince people now. I'm a TV writer. I can't convince them now that I'm trying to do projects. I can't imagine at 17, having that. How did that come about? And shadowing directors and.
It's a good question. I got into the business in the first place when I was a little kid actor. Mm-hmm. And what kind of got me in the business was making little movies for my family, little skits and sketches and things, and seeing them laugh and seeing them, enjoy the things that I make. So I think I always had a creative impulse that was there that needed to be fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And so when I got Wizards of Waverly Place, from day one, I was like, I want to write on this show so bad.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, if you want to write, you need to be treated, well, we're going to treat you like any other writer. So you need to submit a spec script of another sitcom. And I wrote a spec on 2.5 Men, submitted it. They said, okay, all right, it's funny. We'll let you in the writer's room. And so they let me in the writer's room, which doesn't mean I'm going to officially be given an episode to write, but it means I'm in the room. And so I got in the writer's room, and then I started to participate. And so when you're in the writer's room, it's a big, long table, and there's, maybe 10 writers, and everyone is discussing episodes, plural, or an episode. And along the way, everyone's pitching jokes, going, oh, yeah, that situation would be funny. Oh, this situation would be funny. Or what if this character did this? Or what if this character did that? And those jokes would get used or not used. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the battleground by which a new writer will prove himself. Mm-hmm. And so I picked my moment. And I remember when I first got invited into the room and I sat there, I had a bunch of things I thought were kind of funny, and I didn't say anything. I was sitting, jonesing in my chair, waiting for my moment to pitch a funny joke. And I remember I don't remember the joke, but I had something that I thought was funny. And it had something to do with Max coming down the staircase, little brother in the show, coming down the staircase. And he gets to the bottom of the staircase, says a punchline, turns around and goes right back up the staircase. And the joke was it had something to do with that. Just he comes down the staircase, says something ridiculous, turns around, goes right back up the staircase. And everyone laughed. And that was my moment of okay, man, I said something funny. And, it was a huge tension moment for me. I swear I moved in slow motion because your first pitch, if it's not funny, that's a big one. And so I continually would pitch things. Some of them work, some of them would not. But I eventually was given an episode and proved myself. And it was the youngest, I think still to this day, I'd have to check, but the youngest actor in Disney Channel history to write an episode, or to write multiple episodes on a TV series. So I was fortunate enough to be in a great situation, but I had to go through the normal process. I had to write a spec script, I had to submit it, I had to prove myself. So
it's incredible. Yeah. Good for you for working that hard too while acting, and I'm very impressed. I don't know if I would have been able to do that, especially.
Well, you're doing it right now. What do you mean? You're stand up. You got a podcast going. You're doing. Yeah. You're making it happen.
Slightly different, but yeah, sure. I'll take it.
Making it happen.
All right, Jess and the guest listeners. As someone who is currently quarantining with their family, I've never needed therapy more in my life. I feel like everyone could use that. And luckily, there's a place like BetterHelp.com. Again, that's BetterHelp.com. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. And Jess and the guest listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/Jess and the guest. This will help you with everything. It puts you in touch with a licensed counselor within 48 hours, which, dear God, we all need that, truly. So again, that's BetterHelp.com/Jess and the guest, and you'll get 10% off your first month. Yeah, so Wizards was such a great show. I know you had so many great guest stars. I couldn't get over Octavia Spenser, Shakira, the Rock. I was looking it up, how did all these, do you have a favorite guest star or favorite moment with a guest star or anything?
That's a great question. It was years later that Octavia Spenser blew up.
Yeah.
I even had to go, hold on, is that the same girl from Wizards? I had to look it up and make sure that was the same person, because she just went on a very huge, successful launch and is an incredible talent. And I'm not kidding you. When she was on the show, she was so good. She was so good. She committed fully. It just goes to show you, she was a working actress. It didn't matter if it was Disney Channel or if it was whatever the show would be. She gave it her all, and she treated it like this is the most important job I have. And she loved the craft, and she got to play this over the top, maniacal, cackling character. Some people shun sitcoms and things, but she embraced it. She went all the way and she crushed it. She gave it 100%. She gave an Oscar performance in a Disney sitcom.
Yeah.
And it was a big learning lesson for me, because it's it doesn't matter what the platform is, as long as you love the craft and you give it your all, you're going to go places. If you're talented, you're going to go places, and it's going to happen. And she was so great to work with. She always showed up on time. She worked very hard. She's great. And also The Rock as well. The Rock, he showed up. He knew his lines. He nailed his lines. He was professional. He was kind. He was cordial. He was a gentleman. A lot of times you don't hear that on other Disney shows or on other networks where you have a big celebrity come in. A lot of times they want cue cards, or they're not taking it very seriously.
Yeah.
Octavia, The Rock, Shakira, these people were all so phenomenal, and they knew their lines, and they were professional, and they showed up on time, and they looked you in the eye, they shook your hand. It was really, really cool. The Rock was a gentleman, and I'll always remember how gentlemanly he was.
Wow.
You don't often get that with huge celebrities, and he was humble, which is kind of cool.
It's so nice to hear too, because I don't know, I'm always afraid to meet my heroes and then worry they're gonna be, I don't know, mean or something.
Oh, totally. Another funny story of someone who wasn't on the show but visited was Stallone.
Oh, so cool.
And,
no big deal.
He's another one who was a hero of mine. I mean, growing up, The Rock was my everything. Stallone was my everything. Rambo, Rocky, these are some of my favorite movies. And he was laughing my kids don't even know what Rocky is, but my kids are your fans, so we need to, that's why I'm here, because my kids love you. And he was the nicest guy in the world. He told me, he's he heard I was writing on the show, and he's good, you gotta take control of your career and direct. You need to direct too. You need to you need to own your career. And I loved that, like being entrepreneurial and really taking the reins. And he was another one who was just awesome and just a walking bowl of inspiration. That guy, he just encourages everyone to be their best self. That's kind of cool. Yeah, we met some really cool people on the show.
But did you get to dance with Shakira?
That's a great question. No, I did not dance with Shakira. One of my biggest life regrets, I didn't dance with Shakira.
I guess it would be kind of awkward if you're like trying to be professional and be like, hey, listen, can we just?
Yeah, it wouldn't be pretty for me, that's for sure.
No, I know so many Disney stars become like huge pop stars. At this point in your career, will you do that?
Yeah.
I'm voting yes.
You know, I can confidently say that it's not in the cards.
Yeah. Okay.
I can confidently say it's not in the cards. I enjoy strumming a guitar. I enjoy sitting around and, you know, playing a guitar and hanging out with everyone. But no, it's not in the cards for sure.
So Grown Ups 2, I loved your character in that too. It was so funny. You work with like incredible people. Like when I first met David Spade, I was like terrified. I couldn't read him. I was like, I don't know what's happening. How was meeting like Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, David Spade, like all these heavyweights in comedy, I feel like.
Well, you know, David Spade is really funny because he grew up in Arizona and my family grew up in Arizona. And so I remember when I had dinner with him, we were talking about Arizona and I brought up my family's name. I'm not sure if he didn't like my family because they went to like high school with him. I'm not sure if like there were some issues there.
Yeah.
I couldn't read him, but I had a lovely evening with him and Maria Shriver was there and Patrick Schwarzenegger. We had a great dinner as four and he's a funny guy and yeah, it was a nice evening. Nothing bad to say. Super dry wit, you know.
Yeah.
That's his kind of thing. Chris Rock was hilarious. He was like, "Hey man, can my kids get a picture with you?" He came right up to me like, and I'm like, "You're Chris Rock. You're a legend. No, I want a picture with you. But yes, they can have a picture too."
Yeah.
He was so humble and so gracious. Like what a humble guy. Oh. And you know, Adam sets that tone. Like when you get on one of his sets, it's like everything's family, everything's taken care of. Like this is non-threatening atmosphere. It's very Adam is definitely Papa Bear, and he really does make everyone feel at ease, comfortable. Kevin James, same thing. Kevin is very much a humble, relaxed guy. Creates that atmosphere as well. They create a non-threatening atmosphere. There's an ease that is in the air that I think everyone is inhaling. Still working very hard, but it's a very non-threatening atmosphere, which is great.
Yeah. Did you take any directing tips from Adam? Like any like that, for example? Did you want that for your set too, or like any?
Oh, totally.
Did you learn anything? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Making it feel like a family and making everyone feel included and doing extra things to make people feel special.
Yeah.
You know, Adam had cigars around and food and stuff, and he would always just, there would be little special things to make the crew feel appreciated, to make your cast feel appreciated. It's, yeah, he did a great job at that. And I definitely I brought that to my experience in directing. I definitely brought that sort of family atmosphere to the table.
All right, Jess and the guest listeners, if you're watching this on YouTube, and statistically around 80% of you are, use the below coupon or links. It'll take you to fabletics.com. It's the only leggings I wear. It's different sets every month. It's 2 for $24. Your first pair, that's insane. I can't get one pair for under $70 in Los Angeles. This is great athletic wear. It's gym wear. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Okay, who's wearing dresses right now? Okay, you think I dress up like this normally? No. Use fabletics.com. Use the links right below. Link, subscribe, click. I can't wait to talk about this as a year. I feel like it's such a hard process, writing and directing. Like, what was your writing process like? Like how? Tell me everything.
Yeah, it is so hard, to be honest. It's a tough. Writing is tough in general. Writers, if the movie is great, the director gets the credit, and if the movie's bad, the writer gets blamed. So writers are in a tough position right off the get-go. But my experience with writing and directing is, I knew the material really well, so I knew what I wanted, and I injected that into the script when I was writing. But I think I love directing a bit more. Writing is a very tough process, and it can take a lot out of you. And it's a process in which you have to keep grinding it. And you can keep grinding it for a long time, and a lot of times you're not getting paid for that. So you're putting sweat equity in, and you're begging people to read and give you notes, and then you have to go through the process of which notes are good notes, which notes are bad notes, and who do I listen to and who do I not listen to. And it can, years can go by, and then you still don't have a script. So it's a tough process. I learned a ton. I'm really happy I did it. I learned a ton about story and story structure and what's important in a story. So I learned a ton, which I'm super happy about. And my directing experience on set, I learned a ton there too, a tremendous amount. I definitely learned what kind of director I am on set, what I think my strengths are, what I think my weaknesses are. And I'll take that to my next project for sure. I definitely learned a ton, and I'm glad I did that. It was a wonderful experience. It really was. It was a typical indie, what's the saying, cut your teeth or whatever. Like it was something by which I was tried by fire. Yeah. Like every story you've heard of a hard indie or getting a hard indie movie made, we did it all. Like lightning storms happening while you're shooting and having to shut down and figure out how to take 3 pages and make them one because you only have enough time to shoot 1 page. Stuff like that. It was insane. Throw the shot list out the window, just figure out how to make this scene happen and get the coverage that you need to where the story is still told. Yeah. All those things. We did it all. We did it all. And it was very, 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 very educational.
Yeah, you had some really big scenes, like the music scene, like the band performing. In my head, I was like, how do they do this? Like just from a directing and like.
Have you seen the trailer for the film? Did you see that stuff in the trailer?
Oh yeah, it was great. I love the music with it too. Like it looks amazing.
Ricky didn't send you a link to the movie, did he?
No, not yet.
But okay, when it comes out, you'll have to see it. But no, it was tough. We had some scenes where we had hundreds of extras. And so to wrangle that many people, I was really lucky that the extras were all teens. Yeah. And so they were big fans of my TV show. So I would get on the megaphone and they liked it, and I would, joke around with them and stuff. So we were able to really wrangle people in the right way. But it was just the coordination of that many people. You had to really plan for it. We did. We planned a ton for that many people. So they were wonderful. They were wonderful to work with out there in Alabama. We shot in Mobile, Alabama. Wow. And the town was great. The people were great. It was a fantastic experience. So you just got to plan for it, and make sure you have a battle plan, and you're working with competent people who have worked with that many extras before, and they know how to wrangle that many extras. Yeah. So it actually went pretty seamlessly. Because they were unpaid extras, we just took care of their food, so they could leave whenever they want. Oh. Okay. So the reason you pay extras is because you want them to stay, but we couldn't afford that many people. So we knew people would come right off the bat, but then would start leaving. So I planned all my shots to where the biggest shots were first. And so, I knew I had 1 or 2 really big shots with big camera moves where you could see a lot of people. Yeah. So we planned it for that. So when the most people were there, we got the biggest shots. And then as people left, my shots got smaller. So it actually worked out really, really well. And thank God it did, because I think we were barely able to pull it off to where it looks like a convincing music festival.
Oh yeah, it looks great from the trailer. I was like, wow, I'm so impressed. A very smart way to do it too. But how was working with your brother too? So my brother's a comedian. I don't know if we'll ever be able to. I love him. I don't know if we'll ever work together very well. So I'm like, I was so impressed that you guys worked together seamlessly. It looked like how was working with him?
It was great, to be honest. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. Dropping the phone and having it break. It was great, to be honest. another part of, making an indie movie is you don't have a lot of takes. You don't have the luxury of sitting there and getting a million takes. So whoever your lead is, whatever actors you hire, they need to deliver on time quickly, and they're not going to get 10 takes. I mean, ideally, we're on such a tight schedule, you only got maybe 3 takes.
Yeah.
So having a shorthand with my brother to where I know he could get it quickly, and I could speak to him a certain way that I knew he would get the note very quickly and be able to deliver what I needed. That was very good. And hiring actors like Vanessa Morano and Jake Short, really trained actors who have been working in the business for a very long time, was another blessing, because they delivered, and they delivered quickly.
Yeah.
They delivered very fast, and they nailed it, because I mean, we were 3 to 5 takes, and that's all the time that we had.
Yeah. Oh my God. I give you so much credit. Even just hearing that stresses me out. Like, I'd be like, oh
yeah. And you just plan for it, you just got to plan for it. I think the when you're planning your set, your stand-up routine, like that's, you got to plan for it and really make sure you're rocking it. And, it's just, for me, planning was key.
Do you have a favorite shot in the movie? I know you probably can't say too much, but
I mean, I like there's an ending shot where it's a big crowd shot, and it's one of the final shots. It's definitely one of my favorite ones in the film. It might be in the trailer where you see the crowd. That's probably my favorite shot in the film.
Oh, and did you get any advice from any other directors before you started directing?
Yeah, actually, Jeff Garland really said to me, David, set a good tone on set. You're setting the tone, and take your work seriously, but don't take yourself seriously.
Ooh.
And that was one of the first things I said in the first production meeting. Like, I want us all to take our work seriously, but not take ourselves seriously. We're all people here, and at the end of the day, we're quite privileged that we get to be making a movie.
Yeah.
Something that's going to put a smile on people's faces. Our business is art.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. So the attitude of gratitude is where I come from, and that's the tone I want to set for this set. Yeah.
And so I'm Catholic. I have to ask. So my family, like, the Pope came to Philly. We decorated the whole outside of the house. It was like insane. That's
awesome.
Did you really meet the Pope? I have to hear this because it's one of the coolest things.
I did with Maria, and I'm Catholic as well. And so we were having some miscarriages that were difficult for us.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to have a baby.
Yeah.
And we were doing all sorts of tests and things. Nothing was working out. And I had a friend of mine who said, "Hey, I happen to be going to meet the Pope. Would you like to come with me, you and your wife, and you can maybe get a blessing from him?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Would love to meet the Pope. Like, who's not going to want to meet the Pope?" And so we flew to Rome. I memorized this question in Italian. Papa Francesco, per piacere, puoi pregare per me, mia moglie, per arriva un bambino.
Oh my God.
Which means just pray for us that we can have a baby, basically.
Yeah.
Pope Francis, can you? Yeah. And so, sure enough, we go to meet him, and he comes right up to us. He looks us in the eye, shakes our hands, and I said the thing to him. And he put his hand on my shoulder, and he put his hand on my wife's shoulder, and he said, "Don't worry, you'll have a baby soon." And he gave us a special blessing to the two of us. He put our hands together, and his hand on top, and he held our hands like this and said a special blessing. He said, "Don't worry, you'll have a baby soon." And that was it. He walked off, and I'm not kidding you. 9 months later, we had a baby.
Oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so my daughter's name is Pia Filomena Francesca.
Oh.
After Pope Saint Francis, Pope Francis is. And so 9 months later we had a baby. So it worked out nicely for us.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to Jess and the Guest. Please like, subscribe, you know the drill. All right, tune in next Thursday for a brand new episode, and thank you again.